So I think I've talked about this before, but obviously it's a question that a lot of fans are asking nowadays, more so than I think anybody ever has, when it comes to professional sports, like the major leagues of, football, baseball, basketball, you name it. And that is basically when it comes, around playoff time, mostly, you know, is the sport scripted? Now, I'm not saying that what you see on the field isn't real, because that is. The hits, and everything, the tackles and everything, that's real. And throughout most of the regular season, everything could be looked up as, or looked at, I should say, as straight legit. Like, this is the real deal. No scripts, no nothing. But when you get to playoff time, it seems that that's a little bit more different. Almost like, things change, and they don't change sometimes for the better, depending on the situation. And a lot of people will take, well, let's say the commentators, the play-by-play, announcers, for the games, they will take some of the things they say and they'll run with it. Like, you'll hear people like Troy Aikman or whoever else out there, the Chris guy on Sunday Night Football and such, or Joe Buck or whoever. You'll hear them come out and on occasions use the word script. Like, oh, this is how the script was written up, or this is how the script wasn't written up, and all that. And fans will take that, they will take hearing that and, they'll start wondering, what do they mean script? Why do they keep using that word script? What's going on here? It's like something doesn't register. Something doesn't register. And then you start seeing, certain players being talked up a lot. Everybody figured that, when Green Bay was facing San Francisco, Jordan Love was getting talked up a lot, right? He was being pretty much put on a pedestal similar to Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre or Patrick Mahomes. And obviously a lot of people felt that, well, if they're giving him this high praise, that might mean Green Bay is going to win, because it always seems to go that way, but in this case it didn't. But, like I said, folks will take a lot of these things they notice and they'll wonder, like, what's going on here? Like, when my mom was watching the Green Bay San Francisco game, and she was also watching the Kansas City Buffalo game, and she tended to notice, and she wasn't alone in this, because obviously everybody else noticed it, but she tended to notice that the play-by-play announcers were more in favor of the lower seed. Like, they were more in favor of Green Bay. They were talking Green Bay up in a big way. They were talking, basically like with the Buffalo Kansas City game, they were talking up, Buffalo a lot more than Kansas City. Only for the results that pretty much the Buffalo fans and the Green Bay fans didn't want to happen, happened. But yet you had all this talk happening, and a lot of people didn't like that seemingly sounding favoritism going in that direction. They didn't like that. They felt it was very unbiased. But why? Why would the commentators do that? Why would they go that route, you wonder? And it all comes back to that question of, is the postseason of the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, the major sports, is the postseason of all these major sports, including the WNBA, is it all scripted? Is it all predetermined? I mean, I go back to what I talked about in the earlier video when I mentioned, kind of gave my recap on, how dogfighting, nail biting the divisional round was this past weekend. And towards the end, I talked about the fact that there was something that appeared, on television, and somebody on the East Coast or somewhere through the cable system, I don't know if the cable system has Virgin Music, has a Virgin Music station or something, I don't know. But they had a weather channel, and it looked like they had Virgin Music or whatever, something. And this has been going around the internet, And it states basically the musical performances that are going to occur at the Super Bowl. Reba McEntire, Usher, and so on. I can't think of the other people, but Reba McEntire and Usher are the more notable ones. And, they mentioned them being as the musical performers for the Super Bowl, but then underneath that, they mentioned in the description, that these are the musical performers for the Baltimore Ravens San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl on February 11th. And a lot of people looked at that and they were wondering, what the hell? What the hell is this? Do they know something we don't? Or is somebody just trolling us because maybe their team, didn't make it, like they wanted them to? What's going on? Or is someone being such a conspiracy theorist that, they figure this is exactly where it's heading, so, and so it's obvious from the get-go. People, again, people saw that and they're thinking, what is this? And then on top of that, they take a look at the colors for the Super Bowl logo this year, and they notice they're in the colors of purple and red, which represent Baltimore and San Francisco. And, again, people took that and they're wondering, like, what's going on here? Is there something we don't know? Is there something we're not aware about? And then you have other people that will chime in and say, oh, well, it's obvious why this is all happening. It's pretty much predetermined that this is who we're going to get. It's pretty much already set in stone. This is who we're going to get, so we might as well deal with it. And, people look at this, and I saw people commenting, going like, well, what's the point of even watching the games or even betting on them or whatever if we pretty much already have an idea of who's going? The NFL is pretty much giving it away or something. And this all comes back to people wondering about the postseason of Major League Sports being predetermined, being pre-scripted. Basically like, them wondering if it's already determined of who's going to be the top team, or who are going to be the top teams in, let's say the NBA Finals, in the World Series, in the Stanley Cup, in the WNBA Finals, or in this case, the Super Bowl. A lot of people look at that and they wonder, like, what's even the point of watching the games if this is going to be the direction they go in? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But again, it's all because of the fact, it's all because it just feels like it's being played out that way. It's like the regular season and the preseason, that's straight up, that's legit. There's nothing scripted about that. But as soon as you get to the postseason, it's like something changes. It's like someone else takes charge and says, okay, make sure this happens, that happens, this team wins, that team wins. If there's an atmospheric difference when it comes to that. And in the eyes of a lot of fans that don't like seeing sports that they feel should be legitimate and real and not predetermined and scripted, it makes those fans feel like they've been gypped. Makes them feel like, why am I even watching these games, or why am I even cheering on my team if I know these certain teams, because these players are getting advertised and talked about a lot, are pretty much already in the driver's seat. Like, why even do that? And these are good questions they have a right to answer, have a right to ask. But again, you look at how things have happened over the past couple of decades, if not recently, and you can't blame fans for feeling that way. You can't. You can't literally blame them for feeling that way. And if anybody's to blame, really, it's the major league. It's these major professional organizations. It's the NFL. It's the NBA, WNBA. It's MLB, NHL. The MLS. They're the ones to blame more so than anybody, because they're the ones that pretty much have put themselves into this situation to where it's like they just can't let the best teams play. Let the best teams play, let the best team win, and go from there. They basically put it out there to a point to where now they're taking a page out of professional wrestling and saying, okay, we know professional wrestling, what they do in the ring is real, it's legit, it's not fake. But we know that the wins and the losses are predetermined. So guess what? We're going to take a page out of the playbook, and we're going to have our stuff be legit, hard-hitting and everything. But we're going to make sure, mostly during the playoffs, we already have our winners, slated in. And like I said, you can't blame people for taking certain things out of context and believing that. Like I said, you have the announcers coming out and mentioning words like script, and everything, or how this is how it was written up in the script and da-da-da. Or they notice something like with that whole thing that's, going viral right now, thanks to that one, screenshot, saying that, oh, these people are performing at the Baltimore Ravens 49ers Super Bowl. And then you look at the colors for the Super Bowl logo this year itself, and again, you can't blame people for feeling and believing that. You can't blame them. I mean, I don't. I mean, honestly, I appreciate, being a 49er fan, I appreciate the fact that, hey, my team might be going, but I don't know that. I mean, for all I know, people are just, throwing out conspiracy theories out there because their teams didn't make it or because they feel the referees get paid off and stuff. We don't know. We don't know what the reasoning is, but it does again bring up that question: is the postseason of major league sports like the NFL, MLB, WNBA, NBA, MLS, and NHL, is the postseason scripted and predetermined? Before we even watch it. So that's a good question. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about it? What do you believe? And until then, I'll talk to you all.